Let's continue with our story of 3 young girls and their journey to make ink with the found Haworthia obtuse crystal. In the description, I've linked the previous flip through and voiceover with the quest of finding the crystal and how I made the cover with hot glue and molds. Here is the beautiful journal, and I'm going to tell a story that reveals my mystery hidden within its pages. Hi everyone, Patty here. This story and adventure is after the girls find the Haworthia obtuse crystal flower and make ink that will revolutionize the art world. As the story unfolds throughout the journal, its many pages, hidden pockets, and cubby holes, I will reveal the written and illustrated story of this wonderful adventure. I created my journal using tieback as the substrate for the cover that has a brown paper decoupaged over the tieback, which will be strong and will hold up to the best of times. These pieces are some of my molds where I have used caulk, glue, and gilding wax to achieve this steampunk look. It unhooks with the clamp and a long chain that gives plenty of room and growth for expansion. When I open the journal, I like to clamp the chain at the top of my cover as I flip through the pages. As I said, my story is about 3 young girls and their quest to make ink with my Haworthia obtuse crystal, blue transparent flower, with the delays and uncertainties of creating something so volatile in the art world. Emily awakes to the sun peeking through the curtains. It's been 2 weeks since they have returned from finding the Haworthia obtuse crystal flower, and as she makes herself a cup of tea, she should be excited with a new day, but the last 2 weeks have presented a couple of major problems. The first one being, although the flower has made a new ink that will revolutionize the art world, they have yet to find a way to keep the vibrant colors to last for more than a few hours. She hopes that Isabella is onto a new technique that will help stabilize the ink. The other problem has been the financial world. With debts growing from not only the trip but the research, she has found that navigating the financial waters is far more dangerous than anything that experienced while finding the flower. She has been approached by individuals offering to pay her money for the flowers, but far less than it could bring in the long run. Abigail hopes she has found investors among her many world-traveling philanthropist friends. They plan to meet with Harry later that day. As she gathers her bag and heads out the door, she is met by Isabella, who is both shaken and scared. Isabella cries out, "The lab was broken into last night, and all of the specimens were taken." Emily says, "Are you sure everything was taken?" Isabella says, "Yes, everything was taken, and I have filed a report with the police." Emily says, "We still have the major amount of our specimens hidden away in the storage place. Is it still safe?" Isabella said, "Yes, everything is fine there." At that moment, the phone rings, and there is a man's voice on the line that says, "I understand you had a problem with your lab, and you might be interested in selling your project and getting rid of all of these problems." Emily says, "I'm not," and hangs up the phone. Emily tells Isabella, "Grab your stuff and let's go," and they head to the Circle Gallery in Greenwich Village. They find Harry and Abigail there. Isabel starts to talk, and Abigail cuts her off. "We've already been approached by the individual that has offered us both money and a subtle threat of harm if we do not stop any further associations with you." Abigail turns and looks at all 3 of them. "I don't do threats, so let's get on with what we must do. First, we need you two, Emily and Isabella, Go and get enough of your flowers to continue your experiments. Harry will take you to one of his art gallery friends who has a lab in the back, while I go and meet with an individual that doesn't take threats either. As Harry takes Emily and Isabella to get started on working on the flowers at the new lab, Abigail goes to meet with a particular rich individual who some say might have acquired his fortune through criminal activities. We'll just call him Mr. Brown. Abigail explains to Mr. Brown what has happened at the lab, the financial pressures they've been faced with, and the phone calls that threaten harm if they do not back away from the project. Mr. Brown pours himself a drink and listens intently to Abigail's story. As Abigail finishes her story, Mr. Brown clears his throat and says, "Abigail, we've known each other for quite a long time. I believe I can help with 2 of your 3 problems. As far as you fixing the technical problems with your ink, I don't think I'll be much help. As far as your financial problems, come up with a number you desire. And the 3rd problem, I don't like people threatening my friends. It will be taken care of." Abigail gives Mr. Brown a kiss on the cheek and heads out the door. She heads to the new lab to see how things are. Upon arriving at the lab, she sees Isabella, Emily, and Harry all standing against a wall white as a sheet. There is an individual there who says, "Welcome, Abigail. Come join us." The individual says, "It seems we have a few problems. I need you to turn over all the samples of the flowers. And I need you to sign this paperwork releasing all interest in this project." Abigail says, "I'd like you to talk to someone first. Let me make a phone call." Abigail calls Mr. Brown. She quickly explains the situation and turns and hands the phone to the stranger. "There is someone who would like to say something to you." The stranger takes the phone and says, "Who is this?" Now the stranger's face is the one who turns pale white. He turns and hands the phone to Abigail and leaves. Abigail takes the phone and says, "Thank you so much." And Mr. Brown says, "I think we've solved both of the problems on my end, and now it's up to you." Abigail says, "Ciao," and hangs up the phone. Abigail turns and says to everyone, "We have the money, and the threats are taken care of. Now, let's get busy and make some ink." Harry and Abigail help Isabella and Emily set up the lab and then head out to buy supplies that they will need. While Isabella and Emily begin working on stabilizing the ink, Isabella thinks that the process of using Arrant gum is the key to stabilizing the ink for long use. Emily agrees that this technique has been used for stabilizing ink, but more to preserve, along with the use of clove and honey. But as they experiment with this, it does seem to make the ink last longer, but not hold on to the brilliant colors that sets this ink apart from all others. But as they experiment with this, it doesn't seem to make the ink last longer and not hold on to the brilliant bright colors that sets this ink apart from all other inks. Something is missing. The girls decide to head to the Museum of Art, where there is a large library of many different ancient Techniques. They spend the next several hours researching everything they can find about the ink. When Isabella suddenly lets out a yelp, "I think I have found it." Emily hurries to her side, and as they read in a book about the ancient Mayan civilization and a technique they used to create inks for wall paintings, pottery, and other uses, inks that held their color for hundreds of years, the technique is to make a soda ash by heating an ancient herb that now is used as ordinary baking soda. Hardly able to contain their excitement, they head back to the lab. Emily begins to create the new formula of high pH ash, while Isabella makes a new batch of their eric gum, clove, and honey mixture, the two bringing their mixtures together and mixing them as one. Then they take the flour compound and add it to the mixture. As they pour the formula into a petri dish, Emily uses some of it and makes an heirloom treasure with the flour compound in a petri dish art piece. Isabella, hold your breath. This petri dish may turn out to be everything we want it to be. As the hours pass by, the ink is holding its color and its vibrance. It's been nearly 8 hours when they hear Harry and Abigail come into the lab. So Harry asks, "How's it going?" And Emily shows them the petri dish of the new ink. Abigail says, "Look, looks great, but so has all the others." Isabella said, "The difference is this has been over 8 hours. Abigail says, "This is fantastic news, and I have a little of my own. I'm assuming to create this on a mass scale, it will probably cost a little bit of money." Emily says, "I've done some rough figures over the last few weeks, and to set up our own lab, machinery, and equipment we'll need, and to market our new product, we are talking tens of thousands of dollars." Abigail turns with a smirk on her face and shows all three of them a check from Mr. Brown with a lot of zeros. As they are full of excitement, Emily says, "But when those individuals who threatened us find out we have been successful in creating our ink, won't they be back, even with stronger threats?" Abigail, with her smirk back on her face, "Believe me, Mr. Brown is much more threatening than they are." Harry turns with a bottle of champagne in his hands and pops the cork. "We're going to be rich, ladies." Harry and Isabella set out to find the proper place to set up a new lab that Mr. Brown secured for them. While Emily and Abigail head off to the bank to set up the proper credit lines to finance the project. After many weeks of working on the project, Isabella and Emily have fine-tuned the ink. Harry has put the finishing touches on the lab and the manufacturing equipment, and Abigail has brought it all together with the financial investment. Now on to the last thing, but might be the most important, to present to the new discovery to the art community. They choose a massive art show that is held yearly in New York to reveal their new art discovery. Although they meet with some resistance by some of the aristocrats in the art community, they push on, and after much testing and distributing to the participants of the show, there are none that can deny what they have done. The four of them take center stage to address the crowd. Isabella quietly tells everyone that this has been the greatest adventure of her life. Abigail tells everyone that she too thinks that this has been a great adventure, but she has had many and plans many more. Emily thanks everyone for allowing her to present her new discovery and fulfill a dream of hers from the last several years. As Harry steps up to the mic and tells everyone, "We have reserved the ballroom at the Grand Hotel. Let's party. You are all invited." Later at the ballroom, it is filled with noise and excitement. The champagne is flowing. Everyone is offering their best wishes and congratulations. The four are the toast of the town, with everyone so excited. They are lost in the moment. They give each other a hug and say, "We have truly made it." With that, Abigail looks toward a stranger that is off in a corner, and Emily says, "Is that who I think it is?" And Abigail says, "I'll see you all later. I have plans." Amelia is whisked away by some of the leaders in the art community, while Isabella and Harry have plans of their own, consuming great amounts of champagne. All of this was done for a little flower, and they had done it.